Here's a different point of view for you. What if you forgot everything else and you focused entirely on the transformation that you can provide in the life of your client? In other words, if money was no object, how would you help your client transform their life in the specific area that you can help them? I want you to truly think about this. I believe that what we're doing is wasting our time and distracting ourselves with too many products, too many services that are not serving our clients. In my experience, and by the way, my name is Pete Scott, I'm a sales transformation expert. This is what I focus on with my clients. I help them to sell for thousands per client, if not tens of thousands, without the stress, the worry, the anxiety. You can sell in a more peaceful way. And you don't need to do it through pushing. You can do it through a place of calm. How is it that you can sell for thousands without all the stress and the worry? Well, we need to focus on why your clients buy from you in the first place. They don't buy because they want another service. They don't buy because they want hours of your time. They buy because they want to solve a specific problem in their life, and they see you as the authority that can help them to achieve that. More so than this, they may want to achieve a transformation. So for example, if you're a personal trainer, it's not about the personal training sessions, it is much more about them getting in the best shape of their life. And also when we think of value, how valuable is it to have 10 personal training sessions versus knowing within 3 to 6 months you will be in the best shape of your life? Nobody wants to spend money on yet another service. So the way that I teach my clients to achieve this is to first of all say, imagine that a client was going to pay you $100,000 tomorrow. They walk into your business, they say, I think you're amazing, I trust you, I know that you can help me to create this transformation, here's $100,000. How would you help that client to transform their life? And this is what always happens. Whenever I take somebody through this exercise the first time, they focus only on the work that they will do. And because up until this point we're selling services, we're selling products, we're selling hours of our time, we believe that because we're paid more, we've got to deliver more. One example, I had a consulting client that I took on and I gave him this exercise and emailed over what he would do for his client at 100K. It was £100,000, not even dollars. And I read his email. Yeah, he said he would be their personal trainer, but also he said that he would give them training 7 days a week. He would also be their chef. He would show up at their door and be their alarm clock every single morning. They just kept going. You cannot make this stuff up. And the reason for it was because he believed that value was in working hard. That was how he was conditioned to run his business, but it was also why he was struggling. He was fully booked back to back to back with personal training clients and still not making enough money. He lived in London, so of course he needed to make good money, but he was making things way too complicated. So I asked him to do the exercise again. I said, look, you cannot possibly do all of these things and you don't need to. And it's also going to work against you if, hypothetically, playing the game here, you were to charge 100K per client. You're not going to work with the sort of clients that would want you showing up at their doorstep every single morning with scrambled egg on toast. What you want is clients who appreciate your value, they're willing to pay for it, and you're not going to have to give a whole load of time in order to achieve this. So he stepped away and he came back a few days later and he said, Pete, if I was charging 100K, yes, I would take on a different type of client entirely. I would work with CEOs, I would work with multimillionaires, but what I would do is I would become their go-to personal trainer. I am there in the background supporting them all the time when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to fitness, when it comes to all these different things. And it was like the penny finally dropped with him, or the 100K, because he no longer focused on the work and he focused on the change that he would create for the client. And the reason why this is significantly easier than most people give credit for is because there is very few that will ever step into what I call a high value psychology, where they're willing to even ask their client to spend thousands with them. Not 100K, but imagine you're asking a client to spend 2K, 5K, maybe 10K or more. There's very few of your competitors within your industry that are willing to do that because quite simply they've been conditioned to believe that time equals value. But time doesn't equal value at all. Results equal value. And the more that you can offer a significant change and transformation to your client, and that you can articulate that clearly, because your income is a direct reflection to your ability to articulate your expertise, the more that you're going to be rewarded for it. But this is the deep psychology. This is why the most important client isn't a client that you're going to work with in the world. It's the reflection that you see in the mirror. Because if you're still feeling overwhelmed, stressed, anxious, that you can't get a client, that there's a lack of people that are going to pay you, then of course you're going to struggle to sell at this level. But take a step back from all of it, breathe, and know that you can offer a real change and transformation worth thousands for your client.